Boom! What's going on? Well, it's your man Pat Seasallauto LLC, mobile mechanic and roadside services. I'm down there right now. I'm chilling in Sampson. And man, listen, we gotta have a conversation. We got to have a conversation on why the $50 tow guy remains, and ultimately dies as the $50 tow guy. I got something in here for y'all. I'm gonna break this down in about 5, maybe 7, but more than likely about 5 steps of what actually happens to explain to y'all why this person ultimately is their own demise. Out of that 5, I'm gonna tell you, probably number 4 might be tough. And I'm gonna tell y'all, you might want to stay to the end. Right? Catch me? Let's get into it. We're gonna talk to it right now. So let's start off like this. What is the $50 tow guy? There we go. What is the $50 tow guy? The $50 tow guy is somebody who would come out and no shade and no disrespect when I say all this stuff, but the guy would come out, roll back, wrecker, whatever the case is, and he goes and do a tow. Now it might be a 2-mile tow, it might be a 10-mile tow, but essentially the gentleman or lady goes out for very little money, typically about $50, because that's what motor clubs pay. And at first it seems good, but over the long haul, the person seems to bring themselves down, and then they start to wonder more and more, why are they not getting ahead? And so what ends up happening from the end of there is they end up shutting down because they blame the motor clubs for themselves, basically pimping themselves out. They pimp themselves out to the point where they can't even afford to buy toilet paper for themselves, and that's how they end up flushing themselves ultimately down the toilet. So now that you know what a $50 tow guy is, let's go into some of the reasons why the $50 tow guy ends up being the $50 tow guy and then ultimately dies the $50 tow guy. I was trying to put the camera down. It's not gonna work. I'm doing this on my phone because I ain't got my GoPros, but I wanted to do this video for a while. So the number one reason why the $50 tow guy is the $50 tow guy is because he primarily based his whole business model off of being on the motor clubs. And so it's nothing wrong with the motor clubs, and I've talked about this in a couple of different videos. It depends on how your business model is and what you're ultimately trying to do. The problem though that you run into with the motor clubs is that they want X amount of miles free to go to the vehicle. I just been working on concrete. Y'all see that? Yeah, that's cement that's actually on my hands. They ultimately want $50 to do a tow. They want X amount miles free to the tow. Then they want you to load it up and then give X amount of miles free once you're loaded. The problem that they run into, or that the person runs into with this whole thing, is that they don't realize that they're gonna use the closest service provider in that area to be able to get this tow done, right? Because they don't want to call somebody. If you say, I'm gonna give you 10 free miles, they're not gonna call somebody that's 11 miles away, because they know they gotta pay for that extra mile. It might be $2, it might be $3, it might be $5, but they have to ultimately pay an extra amount. So if you agree to a $50 hook rate, you are going to do a tow essentially for $50 if it's in that area. They're not gonna call somebody out of that loaded or unloaded mile range, and they're also not gonna necessarily pay a deadhead back. So what happens is you end up getting stuck being the $50 tow guy solely because they caught you in a web. They got you within this certain radius, and they'll give you everything in that radius. That's great. But especially if you're in a flatbed, it gets old quick, because you're doing, let's just say you have a 30-mile round trip tow. We're gonna break this whole thing down, but let's stop right there. Loaded and unloaded miles, working with the motor club is the number one. That's the first reason why the $50 tow guy is a $50 tow guy. So like I say, working with the motor clubs is not actually all that bad. What happens is the number 2 reason why the $50 tow guy stays and dies as the $50 tow guy is because of that mileage. So if you got 10 miles, it's a 30-mile trip, right? You are 9 miles. You get free 10 miles to the motor club. On the 10th mile, you pick up the customer. That customer then goes another, let's just say 10 miles. And let's just say, and I mean, I don't think most motor clubs or most people are accepting it, but I'm pretty sure there are people. But let's just say you have 10 free loaded miles and you know you're going 9 miles. So you went 10 miles to pick the customer up. You loaded the person, then you towed them for another 10 miles. Your hook rate was only $50, i.e. you just went 20 miles for $50. Now, that's not the kicker though. The kicker is now you're 20 miles away from your home location. And now you have to deadhead back 20 miles to be able to get back home, because you may not get a call in that area. So what ultimately happens is you're stuck, because you can wait around, you can, and this is what you got to understand. In this towing thing, our success is based off of somebody's misfortune. Unfortunately, that's what it really is. And if you don't think that's true, think about the time that you have needed a tow, if you've ever needed a tow, or you had a blowout, or you needed a jump start. It doesn't come at a convenient time, and most people are not budgeting for something like that to happen on their car. I mean, let's be honest. This is the reason why I don't turn wrenches anymore, because people don't want to pay for it, and I understand it. The people who do want to pay for it probably goes to the dealership. Henceforth, where I tow a bulk of my car. So, and that's perfectly fine. I understand it. The only aspect of this that I think people miss is that you could be out all day and not get a call. So if you tow for $50 and it ends up being, you're really going, 20 miles. Well, actually that's 40 miles. I did my math wrong. 10 miles en route, 10 miles tow, 20 miles back. So now you're out 40 miles for $50. You're going over, 2 hours for $50. And I mean, I guess on the grand scheme of thing, on an hourly rate, it would seem like it's still pretty good money, but that's how they end up playing themselves. Number 3 reason why the $50 tow guy becomes a $50 tow guy: he gets tired of the motor clubs. So he starts reaching out to regular customers on the street. And what happens is he says, for an introductory price, I'll tow your car anywhere in this town for $50. So what happens is he starts telling people this, and then people start going from one side of the town all the way over to the other side of the town. Lo and behold, he's in the same situation, but now he's dealing with the general public on his own consensus. So he goes back to the motor clubs and he starts doing the same thing again. He's jumping back and forth. Now, he has to pick loyalty with one or the other. So he says, well, I'm going to do, the motor clubs, right? The customers who he said $50 for, he can still do it for $50 if it comes up, but he's got a lot of other competition, and he's not necessarily going to be in the area where he probably wants to be. And then he starts giving bad ETAs. He says, I'm gonna be there in 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and he's an hour to an hour and a half behind. His Google, Yelp, Bing ratings start to go down. People don't want to use him because he's trash. So now he was the $50 tow guy doing it for the motor clubs. And so, but let's say the scenario is a little bit different, and he starts doing $50 tolls around town. He's the cheap guy. He's sloppy. He's sloppy. His reviews are still going down because he's just in and out, loaded up, keep on going, and he's damaging people's stuff. He probably ain't got the right insurance. I mean, and this really happens. I know a person personally. Who was this person? And yes, it was not me. It was not me. I knew somebody just like this. He ended up scaling really fast. I talked about him before. He had a flatbed. He had a wrecker. Everybody was like, dang, he's coming up. He's doing his thing. And he went out of business. And the reason being is because he was driving 45 minutes that way to go do work. And then for $50, but then he wouldn't have anything coming back. Or they would give him another $50 toll, 50 miles or 20 miles more that way. And then it would make a few dollars on mileage, but then he had to compensate for coming back, an hour and a half, 2 hours away. And yeah, you made $200, but it's gonna take you 2 hours to come back home. It doesn't even make any sense. You could have made it locally if you knew how to work your numbers right. So he ends up falling off, and then people don't want to use him. And the word gets around town that this dude is trash. Yes, he offering low prices, but you get what you pay for. There you go. The fourth reason, I said I might do 7, but we're probably going to do 5. Because there's a lot that we could talk about with this whole thing. And it's getting cold out here. I ain't going to lie to you. I got to get back. I should have probably just sit in the truck to do this whole thing. But the fourth reason why this individual goes out is because he thinks he's basing these numbers. This is why I told you it's critical. If you stay to this point, I'm telling you, yo, you got the sauce right now. He's basing his success off of other people's numbers that he don't or she don't know. The $50 tow guy could have a paid for truck, underinsured, lives at home or whatever the case is, or he lives in a cheap place. He don't have no real bills, so he could do it for cheap. The problem is you can only be so many places at one time. He starts to try to do the $50 tow, and let's just say he got a truck note. Your truck note $2,000 a month, fam. Your insurance is $1,000 a month, bro. But you forgot about the other bills that you got. So it's costing you $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a month just to run the truck. You know how many tolls you have to do at $50 to be able to make that payment or to keep up? That's how they end up ultimately going out of business. So the point here is that they are basing this number on what they think the industry wants to pay based off of what they think other people are doing or what they see other people are doing. But you can't do this. This is why I tell people all the time, like, they're like, well, how do you charge pricing? Bro, I charge my pricing off of what it costs me to run. I could give 2 damns about what the next person got going on. I don't know their business. I don't know if they got a whole stack of money. I don't know if they're making a truck payment. I don't care. Because it ain't paying bills at my place. You feel me? Like, y'all ain't paying my bills, so I know how much it costs to run. And if you can't understand that, man, ultimately it's going to be hard to be in the business, because a lot of people be out here, and I'm not knocking on nobody who do it. I'm just telling you, like, they finessing it and hoping that they could fake it till they make it. Y'all are getting real, raw, uncut when y'all come and chop into this channel, which if you haven't yet, like, share, and subscribe. I would appreciate that. Helps me out with the YouTube algorithm. But that's what ends up happening, man. They comparing their success to somebody else's success, and they can't understand why they can't get ahead, but they don't know their numbers. They don't know that it costs them $175 just to crank up their truck, because they don't know how to even calculate how much it costs to run their business. They just jumped into it. They got them a truck. I see that today alone, I live in a small town. Today alone, I seen 6 tow companies here. All of them are AAA. Every single one of them. I'm like, yo, there ain't enough people here for this. I made my money, so I'm good. But I mean, I don't know what they doing or how much they doing it for. Like, and again, I don't care. The point is, a lot of people be out here basing their numbers off of other people's when they don't really know the back end of what's going on in somebody's business. And that's why they ultimately go out of business. So we're going to get to this last one. The last reason why people ultimately go out of business, the $50 tow guy goes out of business, is because they're doing it for the wrong reason. Let me tell y'all something, man. Before I started with, oh, did y'all see that? I ain't gonna show it again. I ain't ready to show y'all yet. So ultimately, why I do this is because I was doing this before I got paid for it. I could take you back to this very parking lot. I'm in Avon Park right now. This used to be right there. That used to be what's called Food Lion. It was like Publix back in the day. And I mean, I have done burnouts in this parking lot. I almost got arrested right there one day. And that's a whole nother story. They brought dogs out, sniffed the car. So, I mean, it was a whole, guns pulled on me. Police. Matter of fact, where the police at? One of the police, where he at? He's right there. Right there. He pulled up in the parking lot. They've been watching me. And that's cool, because I ain't doing nothing wrong. But the point that I'm making is, I was doing stuff even in this parking lot, changing tires, helping people tow, jump starts in this parking lot right here 15 years ago. I was doing this for free. I was doing this because I generally wanted to help people, and I like doing it. And people get into it thinking that there's a lot of money to be made, and it's just all you got to do is get a truck. What happens is it becomes a race to the bottom. right now, there's people who don't care about people. And there's some that are successful being like that. And there's others that are not. The point is, the people that are not, you can see it on their face. Like, you can tell they're generally unhappy. Like, right now, don't get me wrong, I charge now. But I was doing it for free well before. Like, I had already had knowledge in this whole thing well before. And I come from the mechanic space. So a lot of the things, and I don't know everything. I never front like I know everything, because I don't. And I'm not afraid to ask questions if I don't know. The thing is people be into it, though, ultimately for the wrong reasons. I always say, man, know yourself. Be yourself. And people don't keep it real with themselves. They don't even know themselves. They're doing it for the wrong reasons. And then they end up, you know, overwhelming themselves, or they end up just generally just being unhappy, man. And so they get themselves out of it. The $50 toll guy gets out of it because at first, $50 an hour sounds good. But when you calculate how much it costs you to make $50 an hour, you was probably better off working at McDonald's for $10 an hour, homie, to be honest with you. And you would probably like it more because at least you had a schedule. And now you're sporadic. You don't know when money's coming in. You don't know where it's coming from. I'm built for this. I've been doing this, baby. Like, I was doing, and I got a smile on my face because, I mean, like, real deal, man. Listen, you ask people around where I'm from, who I'm is and what I do, and ask them how long I've been doing this. Man, I've been doing this. I love this, and people ain't in it for the love, man. And that's why the $50 toll guy goes out of business. You're going to run yourself out of business, and I'm not talking to nobody personally. I'm talking just individually, because this goes on everywhere. Everywhere I talk to toll people, everybody got the same problem. They jumped on YouTube, they saw your homie out here, and they're like, yo, man, if he can do it, I can do it. Which you can. But there's a right way and there's a wrong way. And people be out here doing it the wrong way and for the wrong reasons. And that's why they ultimately are their own demise. Let's end this video. So I got two more people done pulled up. Y'all can see them in the background. Can I zoom in? Let me see. No, I can't zoom in on the video. Well, either way, there's two of Highlands County's finest over there. Shout out to y'all. The $50 toll guy goes out of business because he gets enough, or she gets enough rope to hang themselves ultimately. If you want to learn how to be a fast toll pro, this is my shameless plug. I have the Roadside Guide to Profits ebook. Now, I don't have a brand new truck. I don't keep the fanciest equipment, but all my stuff is new. Or my trucks is not new, of course. My equipment, though, that runs the trucks is new. I'm still in business. Baby, I'm 7 years strong in this thing. And I'm going to keep on going. And I do it with a smile on my face. Most people that you see tow are kind of miserable. And there's a reason why I'm the way that I am. If you would like to join this crew on my side, how we do this thing, man, click the link in the bio. You can go to my website. You can book a call with me. Let's talk. I'm here, para mi gente, man. I'm the Morgan and Morgan of this thing. I'm doing this for my people, man. And if you want to be a part of that, there you go. If you don't want to be a $50 toll guy that ultimately hangs themselves, follow these instructions, man. Do it for the love. Do it for the people. Lastly, do it for the money. All right? I appreciate y'all tapping in with the homie again. Like, share, subscribe. I love all my gente out there, man. I really genuinely love me gente out there. Now, if you need to connect with me, I done told you what to do. Seasallauto.com or Seasallauto@yahoo.com. However you need to reach me. Y'all see what I'm doing. I'm out here, baby. And I hope that y'all can be out here and be safe, and we can all make this happen and work this thing out together. So, until next time, mi gente, be pro mundo beneficio siempre. Peace.